Hey, Tom, where were you last night? Yeah, you missed it. Alan and Billy came up the front walk. Tom was sitting on his porch steps bouncing a tennis ball. Old man Tater caught Joe as we were climbing through the fence, so we all had to go back and... Shh, Colton. And he made us pile the peaches on his kitchen table, and then he called our mothers. Joe's mother hasn't let him out yet. Where were you? Tom stopped bouncing the tennis ball. Colton. He was a tall, skinny boy who took his troubles very seriously. My mother kept me in. What for? I wouldn't eat my dinner. Alan sat down on the step below Tom and began to chew his thumbnail. What was it? Salmon casserole. Who can remind me, what is a casserole? Madison?
A hammer.
A what?
A hammer.
Not a sandwich. Destiny?
A dish served in a deep pan.
Yes, a dish that's usually baked and served in a deep pan. Good. Billy flopped down on the grass, chunky, sub-nosed, freckled. Salmon casserole's not so bad. Wouldn't she let you just eat 2 bites? Asked Alan. Sometimes my mother says, well, all right if I'll just eat 2 bites. I wouldn't even eat 1. That's stupid, said Billy. 1 bite can't hurt you. I'd eat 1 bite of anything before I'd let them send me up to my room right after supper. Tom shrugged. How about mud? Alan asked Billy. You wouldn't eat a bite of mud. Alan argued a lot. Small, knobby-kneed, nervous, gnawing at his thumbnail, his face smudged, his red hair messy, shirt tail hanging out, shoelaces untied. Sure I would, Billy said. Mud? What's mud? Just dirt with a little water in it. My father says everyone eats a pound of dirt every year anyway. What about poison? That's different. Billy rolled over on his back. Is your mother going to make you eat the leftovers today at lunch? He asked Tom. Never has before. How about worms? Alan asked Billy. Tom's sister's cat squirmed out from under the porch and rubbed against Billy's knee. Sure, said Billy. Why not? Worms are just dirt. Yeah, but they bleed. So you'd have to cook them. Cows bleed. I bet $100 you wouldn't really eat a worm. You talk big now, but you wouldn't if you were sitting at the dinner table with a worm on your plate. I bet I would. I'd eat 15 worms if somebody bet me $100. You really want to bet? I'll bet you $50 you can't eat 15 worms. I really will. Where are you going to get $50? In my savings account. I've got $130.79 in my savings account. I know, because last week I put in the $5 my grandma gave me for my birthday. Your mother wouldn't let you take it out. She would if I lost the bet. She'd have to. I tell her I was going to sell my stamp collection otherwise. And I bought that with all my own money that I earned mowing lawns, so I can do whatever I want with it. I'll bet you $50 you can't eat 15 worms. Come on, you're a chicken. You know you can't do it. I wouldn't do it, said Tom. If salmon casserole makes me sick, think what 15 worms would do. Joe came scuffing up the walk and flopped down beside Billy. He was a small boy with dark hair and a long nose and big brown eyes. What's going on? Come on, said Alan to Billy. Tom can be your second and Joe will be mine, just like in a duel. You think it's so easy? Here's your chance to make $50. Billy dangled a leaf in front of the cat, but the cat just rubbed against his knee, purring. What kind of worms? Regular worms. Not those big green ones that get on the tomatoes. I won't eat those. And I won't eat them all at once. It might make me sick. 1 worm a day for 15 days. And he can eat them any way he wants, said Tom. Boiled, stewed, fried. Yeah, but we provide the worms, said Joe. And there have to be witnesses present when he eats them. Either me or Alan or somebody we can trust. Not just you and Billy. Okay, Alan said to Billy. Billy scratched the cat's ears. $50. That was a lot of money. How bad could a worm taste? He'd eaten fried liver, salmon, loaf, mushrooms, tongue, pig's feet. Other kids' parents were always nagging them to eat. His had begun to worry about how much he ate, not that he was fat, he just hadn't worked off all his winter blubber yet. He slid his hand into his shirt and squeezed the side of his stomach. Worms were just dirt. Dirt wasn't fattening. If he won $50, he could buy that mini bike George Cunningham's brother had promised to sell him in September before he went away to college. Heck, he could gag anything down for $50, couldn't he? He looked up. I can use ketchup or mustard or anything like that, as much as I want? Alan nodded. Okay. Billy stood up. Okay. So he took the bet. What is the bet? Someone raise their hand.
$50.
Parker.
If he eats 15 worms, he has to give the 8.2 worms $50.
Yep, so Billy took the bet. So Billy has to eat 15 worms. How many worms is he going to eat each day?
One.
Just one. Can he eat them however he wants? Ketchup, mustard, salt,
Lemon,
pepper,
lime,
lemon, lime.
cookies,
Uh-huh.
pig. He can
Yep.
put pizza on top of them.
All right.
That's what Miss Hammond hates.
Chapter 2. Digging. No, said Tom, that's not fair. He and Alan and Joe were wandering around behind the barns at Billy's house, arguing over where to dig the first worm. What do you mean it's not fair, said Joe. Nobody said anything about where the worms were supposed to come from. We can get them anywhere we want. Not from a manure pile, said Tom. That's not fair. Even if we didn't make a rule about something, you still have to be fair. A manure pile is like cow poop, horse poop. That's manure. What difference does it make where the worm comes from, said Alan. A worm's a worm. There's nothing wrong with manure, said Joe. It comes from cows, just like milk. Joe was sly, devious, a schemer. What does devious mean? Who can remind me? What's another word for devious? Destiny? Sneaky. When you're devious, you're sneaky. The manure pile had been his idea. You and Billy have got to be fair too, said Alan to Tom. Besides, we'll dig in the old part of the pile where it doesn't smell much anymore. Come on, said Tom, starting off across the field dragging his shovel. If it was fair, you wouldn't be so anxious about it. Would you eat a worm from a manure pile? Joe and Alan ran to catch up. I wouldn't eat a worm, period, said Joe, so you can't go by that. Yeah, but if your mother told you to go out and pick some daisies for the supper table, would you pick the daisies off a manure pile? My mother wouldn't ask me, she'd ask my sister. You know what I mean. Alan and Tom and Joe leaned on their shovels under a tree in the apple orchard, watching the worms they had dug squirming on a flat rock. Not him, said Tom, pointing to a nightcrawler. Why not? Look at him. He'd choke a dog. Geez, exploded Alan. You expect us to pick one Billy can just gulp down like an ant? Gulping's not eating, said Joe. The worm's got to be big enough so Billy has to cut it into bites and eat it with a fork. Off a plate.
Grandma's running away.
Colton, shh. It's this one or nothing, said Alan, picking up the nightcrawler. Tom considered the matter. It would be more fun watching Billy trying to eat the nightcrawler. He grinned. Boy, it was huge, a regular python. Wait till Billy saw it. We let you choose where to dig, said Alan. After all, thought Tom, Billy couldn't expect to win $50 by just gulping down a few measly little baby worms. All right, come on, he turned and started back toward the barn, digging his shovel. Chapter 3. Training Camp. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Billy was doing push-ups in the deserted horse barn. He wasn't worried about eating the first worm, but people were always daring him to do things. And he found it was better to look ahead, to try to figure things out, get himself ready. Last winter, Alan had dared him to sleep out all night in the igloo they built in Tom's backyard. Why not, Billy had thought to himself. What could happen? About midnight, huddled shivering under his blankets in the darkness, he'd begun to wonder if he should give up and go home. His feet felt like aching stones in his boots. Even his tongue, inside his mouth, was cold. About half an hour later, as he was stubbornly dancing about outside in the moonlight to warm himself, Tom's dog Martha had come along with 6 other dogs, all in a pack, and Billy had coaxed them into the igloo and blocked the door with an orange crate. And after the dogs had stopped wrestling and nipping and barking and sniffing around, they'd all gone to sleep in a heap with Billy in the middle, as warm as an onion in a stew. But he hadn't been able to think of anything special to do to prepare himself for eating a worm, so he was just limbering up in general. Push-ups, knee bends, jumping jacks, red-faced, sweating. Nearby, on an orange crate, he'd set out bottles of ketchup and Worcestershire sauce, jars of... Okay, I'll get you one in a second. Jars of ketchup and mustard, a box of crackers, salt and pepper, a lemon, a slice of cheese, his mother's tin of cinnamon and sugar, a box of Kleenex, a jar of cherries, some horseradish, and a plastic honey bear. Tom's head appeared around the door. Ready? Billy scrambled up, brushing back his hair. Yeah? Tom flung the door open. Alan marched in, carrying a covered silver platter in both hands. Joe, slouching along beside him with a napkin over one arm, nodding and smiling. Tom dragged another orange crate over beside the first. Alan set the silver platter on it. A chair, cried Alan. A chair for the monsieur. Come on, said Billy, cut the clowning. Tom found an old milking stool in one of the horse stalls. Joe dusted it off with his napkin, showing his teeth, and then ushered Billy onto it. Ladies and gentlemen, shouted Alan, I present my masterpiece, Vermala Mud. He swept the cover off the platter. Ugh, Billy cried, recoiling. And then tomorrow we will start chapter 4. How do you think he's going to eat his first worm?
It does have to avoid ketchup in there.
You think ketchup and mustard? What do you think, Parker?
I think he has to somehow eat it somehow. Yes.
Cook it up and put it in soup.
I need you to sit down. Parker raised his hand, so I am listening to what Parker has to say.
I think he somehow has to kill it.
He somehow has to kill it.
And then he can put ketchup in mustard.
Destiny, what do you think?
Or maybe he eats it alive. I think he puts salt and pepper.
Salt and pepper. Do you think he's regretting that he took the bet?
Yeah.
Yeah. When he sees the worm on the plate, you think he's regretting that he has to eat 15 worms?
Yeah.
What do you think?
No, he just has to eat one worm a day.
You think he's not having any regret? How do you think he's gonna eat his first worm?
Yum.
With salt, pepper, lime, lemon? What do you think? All of it?
Ketchup, mustard, lemon, lime, cookies,
Ketchup,
Peel.
cookies.
real peel, fake peel, fireworks,
Okay.
grenades, rocket launcher, a handgun, a rope,
I didn't write their names. Do you need me to?
A
Or do you know who to take?
I forgot now.
Okay.
a cow, then a puppy that puts a puppy in the face. Goodbye. Bye.
Okay. I am going to. After I finish giving directions. Okay, I'm going to give you some time on Epic Books while you're eating snack.
What snack?
I don't know yet.
Can I freeze one? Can I freeze one?
If you do not have your definitions finished, that is what you are doing during snack. I will put the vocabulary paper back up on the board because I need you to get that finished. After Epic, then I'm going to explain what we're going to do for the around the room activity.
What are we having for snack? Can we have cheese it, wheeze it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yippee!
Do you have a charger?
I do not. So if you do not have the definitions finished, you need to take that piece of paper out and be working on finishing those. If you have finished the definitions and your paper is in the tray, then you may get on Epic Books.
Can I freeze one? Can I draw?
No, you need to finish.
Great.